I am holding 7 police reports from one of the most famous poltergeist / demonic possession cases in Canadian history. You see, it took place back in 1970 in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada.
As a police officer, I think the most unusual thing that I could ever possibly describe was back in the early 70s, mid-1970s, we were sent to a disturbance, unknown problem type situation.
Everything seems to be fine for the moment.
Everything's fine for now.
Glad to hear it. What was that?
Seems like the boy's having problems again.
Oh, all right, yeah. Okay, I'll be in touch. Good evening, ma'am.
I've been expecting you.
And we talked to the parents of this young lad, and they were bewildered by a situation that they didn't know how to do anything with, they had no control over. I thought it was an unmanageable child. At the time, it turns out it wasn't. And while we were there, as a matter of fact, the young boy was sitting in a chair, and the chair lifted up and dumped his flat on the floor. If you weren't watching, you would think maybe it's just a chair turned over, or he did it and was just doing something for attention. But when his father went to reach down and lift the chair off the boy, the chair couldn't be lifted. And my partner, who was there, tried to lift the chair with me, and neither one of them could lift it. The young boy was on the floor. He was scared. He was crying. He was frustrated by the situation. So were we. Never having experienced any kind of phenomenon like this before. The only thing I wanted to do was get my ass out of there, and which we did. We eventually left, and we called the detectives to come to the scene because they investigate all matters, and we thought they could do a better job of investigating this than we could.
I joined the department in '65, and I'd been on probably 3 years when I took the call, 3 or 4 years, because we weren't regional at that point. It was all St. Catharines Police. So I took the report, and my sergeant came over, Sergeant Taylor, and he made a report also. And you have a list of all the people that witnessed these events. You got them in your hand there. We went back, I became interested in what was going on. And one detective, Richardson, came over, and he just sat there and listened and got up and walked. There was an assistant crown attorney that came, and some of these happened in front of him, and he left, and his coat was still hanging there 2 weeks later. He never came back for it. So, you know, people react differently. There was neighbors and friends that would sit there all night and just make sure that everything was fine for the parents and stuff. They had a lot of great support from neighbors and friends, which helped.
Hello?
I wasn't upset with anything. I just curious, more curious than anything. That's why I went back on my own time several times to witness other stuff that went on.
Look, please! I'm stuck to the wall! I'm stuck! Look, please! I'm stuck to the wall!
He'd go to school, he'd come home from school, it would start again. Nothing happened at school. Nothing happened at his grandmother's, just in that particular house. Continued for we moved the kid to his grandmother's because of the fact that we in the old country a ghost doesn't cross water, so we moved the kid for 2 weeks to his grandmother's in the Western Hill, which is across the creek in St. Catharines. Everything stopped. We brought him back, it started. Books flying around, this being disturbed, that being disturbed, and eventually it just went away by itself. We were at it for about 10 days and it just died, just gone. I believe there are spirits that move around, yes.
I know when the detective showed up, he looked at the detective and said, "It's leprechauns." He says, "It's leprechauns." And of course I burst out laughing because it was like being in church. You don't want to laugh, but you're in that state of fear, I think it was with me. I was so scared I didn't know what to do, so laughing was my answer to my response to it. And of course my partner, he wanted to punch me out because he thought I was laughing at him, but I wasn't. I was just laughing because I was scared. And I learned later that and even after I had to go back on the second occurrence, we got sent back. And the second time I was there, there's I don't know how you describe it, but there's a ledge they put around the top of the living room, dining room area. You put knickknacks and souvenirs and plates on it, and I know the second time I was there, a plate come off of that shelf and didn't fall, break on the floor. It fell, went across the room and smashed against the wall on the other side. And that was enough for me. I just said, I'm not staying here, I'm getting out. And I went out and my partner stayed because he was trying to console the people and help. And even when he came out, he said the young fellow was in bed and the bed lifted right off the floor. And it scared him enough that he'd come out too. And I wasn't going back to the place, but there was plenty of officers that went and they all saw different things and everybody's got a different story about it. But the bottom line was the chief of police at the time issued an order and said we will not respond to this residence for the problems they were experiencing. He didn't refuse us to go for any criminal thing or domestics or anything, but we would not go to respond to this unknown problem because there was nothing we could do, and what it was doing was scaring the hell out of all of us. I mean, I'm talking policemen that were 50 and 60 right down to me who was like 20, and we all got scared by this situation.